and welcome to my first Starcraft2 commentary. I've decided to attempt to do this because I feel that a lot of the people out there, even if they're watching a lot of the footage that's showing up online now, they might not understand entirely what's going on without having a little bit more description about what might have changed between the original Starcraft and the new one. So this is my attempt to help out with this. This is one of my favorite matches I've had since I've gotten into the Starcraft2 beta. It is one of my placement matches for the League games they have set up. Right now, we're playing on a 4-player map. It's got a spawn point, obviously here where I am right now, another spawn point up here in this corner. This is where my opponent spawned, opposite me. Another one down here. One of the biggest changes they've made now is, obviously, as you saw at the beginning, you start off with 7 SCVs now instead of, I believe, 4 is what you started off in the old one. Maybe it was 5. But the resources you gain is different now. Instead of getting 8 minerals per run, you get 5. Or maybe you got 10 in the previous one. I actually can't remember. I haven't played the original in a long time, I have to say. But basically, yeah, they balance it out, so you get the same number of minerals per second, I believe, but they give you more SCVs to mess around with, which lets you do, slightly different things. And I think it defends a little better against earlier rushes because you have a few more things to deal damage. Another change that they've made is Vespian geysers now are no longer infinite. They've also reduced the amount of gas you get from them per run. You used to get 8 gas per run before, and now it's just 4. But now, when a Vespian geyser runs out, and when it reached 0, you used to get 2 per run. That's no longer the case. Now, when a Vespian geyser runs out, it is done. There is nothing more you can do. You won't get any more Vespian geyser. You can't infinitely mine. Let's go back to an actual commentary. I have started walling off the front of my base, and I've sent out my first scout here. And it looks like he is starting the wall in for his base and is building his first marine. I've just started my marines as well, and I believe he uses his first marines to scout, wherein I actually use my SCVs. It's a little easier to wall in now because you can actually see the building animations on the ground. They give you the little 4x4 squares and tell you which bit it can't build on. So it's a little bit less guesswork, but it does take some getting used to. There's been a few maps I've lost because it looks like I was walled in, but you could still walk straight through it. Obviously, this has been a little frustrating. So here it is. I found out where he's spawned. My SCV's just kind of hanging out down here. You just saw right there the supply depot going down. That's something new in the expansion. No, not the expansion, sorry, the sequel. Basically, people were using their supply depots to wall in so much, they decided to turn them into an actual wall. You can now, with the push of a button, this button right here, it will just drop the supply depot into the ground, so your units can pass over it, and then you can pop it right back up and turn it back into a wall. That's, to me, is a really great change. What you're seeing here on top of his barracks is one of the new things you can make. They are called tech labs. Basically what that allows is like the old academy from the old game. Basically it unlocks the higher tech units from the barracks minus the ghost. And what I've also gone for it over here. The other option for the barracks is something called the reactor, which allows it to have 2 different command queues at the same time. Instead of building 1 unit at once, you can basically build 2 at once. But you can only build like the Tech 1 units. So in the case of the barracks, you can only build Marines. What he's building here are reapers, which you will see grouping up over here. Reapers are a very powerful raiding unit in StarCraft2. Basically, they're dual-wielding units. They attack twice at once. They do 4 base damage, which isn't that high, but they do an extra 5 damage per gun to lightly armored targets, like, say, SCVs. Basically, and they fire very, very quickly. Basically, if these guys get in your mineral lines, they will chew through your stuff very quickly. He has now successfully managed to scout me with his 2 Marines, but doesn't push in because basically he would just be sacrificing 2 Marines. He does something here very clever with his Marines, which is something I should have done or should be more aware of, frankly. As I learned to actually play this, I didn't really ever play the original StarCraft very competitively, so I'm still catching on as I go. But you see, he sticks 1 Marine over here to scout to make sure I don't expand. And then he sticks the other Marine on this thing called a Zelnaga Watchtower, which is something that gives you a very large line of sight around the map. And if you have one unit near it, you're pretty much set to go. His big thing here, though, is the fact that if you look on the minimap, I don't know if you can see this on YouTube, but you can't actually see the unit on the minimap. And he actually sneaks it over here in the corner, and you can't actually see it at all, besides the Watchtower being on. Here comes his first little raid. All I've got at this point is I've decided to go for a more mechanized build. I've gone for some tanks out in front. The only thing that really saves me here is the fact that I had just built a tank when he gets here, so you saw that one running off the top of the screen. I managed to get my other tank over here and kind of distract him for a little bit. But as you can see, yeah, even though they were in there for just a second, they already got quite a few of my SCVs just by being around there. I try to cut him away a little bit, but he comes back in, gets a few more on my SCVs. Sorry, I had to turn the volume down there. I think you might have been catching too much of my speakers over the microphone. I get the second tank in here, and it manages to pretty much take things out. The Reapers are very strong against lightly armored targets. They're very good at the raiding job, which is what they're supposed to do, but they don't really survive against anything meaningful. See, they don't really do that much damage to the second tank, and it just tears them apart. So now, realizing he's going to do this, I have just finished researching siege mode, I believe, so I start trying to defend this ridge. I kind of turtle a little bit in this game. I don't do as much early game raiding. I let him raid me mostly. And that's a pretty big... I don't know, it's not really an error on my part, but it's just a big difference in most of the games I've been playing where actually I had been trying to do the raiding. There have been a lot of games where you'll just run into the other person's raiding party in the middle of the map, and whoever's paying more attention tends to run into them. A little bit more about these Zelnaga Watchtowers. Another great thing about them is you see right here, he's got his Marine just standing next to it, doing nothing. It's not really costing anything, 50 minerals. But he can see the exit to my base. If I turn on just his view, you can see that he can see the exit to my base, and if I was in the other base, he could see up there. That is an amazing bonus. Like, if I were to send any ground forces against him, he could see them coming. And right now, it's just an amazing scouting force for him. Here comes a second kind of raid for him. He set some Hellions up here. These are the new vultures, by the way. They're like fire bats if you stuck them on the front of a vulture. They're pretty powerful. They do some splash damage. They do have like a little frontal cone attack. And the flame has a pretty long range. They're pretty good for raiding. Not quite as good as the Hellion, I feel, or the Reaper, I feel, because the Reapers are a little cheaper or more balanced in the cost. So here he goes for a second scout, but I have some tanks set up, which pretty much tear them up. Yeah, they get up here, siege tank basically one-shots them. Most of the damage of this siege tank was actually dealt by this siege tank. If this one had been sieged up already, they would have died before they even got up here. Another nice thing that is available in StarCraft2, but something I don't actually take advantage of in this map, or in this match, is the fact that you can now auto-cast repair, much like you could in Warcraft 3. It's basically, for all those times where you had to like sort out which one of your vehicles was damaged and like move it to a separate location so you could repair them all. No longer the case. All you have to do is turn on auto repair and stick an SCV in your stuff. It's great. Now I'm pretty well walled in at this point, especially against ground forces. I've just got tanks lining the entire part of my base he can get in, and I'm pretty well set up here. Which I think is what prompts him to start going for an air approach. Here's his next ground thing coming in. You see he's going for another basic raiding group. It's almost all Hellions, which are mostly a raiding group, not so much an actual like destroy your base kind of group, because you do need tanks to back them up to do that. But he's pumping them out pretty quickly and walling in some more. I think, there you'll see a reactor. All right, so you can see how it has more Q spots, but if he'd build a second one, I don't know if he's going to do so. But if he did, you'd see another queue would show up over here, and it'd be building two of them at once. And it costs less than the price to build another factory itself. So, you can just start spamming a lot of that unit really quickly. It costs only 50 minerals and 50 gas to build a reactor on a barracks. Here he's scouting with his first two Vikings. Especially after I saw him do this, I should have started building a lot more defense stuff. You'll see here the special ability of the Viking is that they can land their anti-air form. They are only air-to-air combat in the air, and they're ground combat only when they're on the ground.